The laughter hit me like a physical blow. It was my 36th birthday dinner, and the warm feeling from moments before vanished. My father, Richard, leaned back in his chair, his loud chuckle silencing the chatter from my aunts and uncles. I had just shown them my side hustle, a small, sleek device that purified indoor air using moss and a clever, low-energy fan. "Charlotte, honey," he said, wiping an imaginary tear. "That's cute." "Really? Craft store nonsense." My cheeks burned. He turned to the waiter with a dismissive wave. "Don't worry, she won't be the one paying for dinner anytime soon." The table went completely silent. I clenched my hands under the table to hide their shaking. He wasn't finished. "But I have a real plan for your life," he announced, his voice booming. "One that will finally end this hobby nonsense." After the disastrous dinner, my father cornered me near the ballet station. The cold night air did nothing to cool my humiliation. "This has gone on long enough, Charlotte," he said, his voice low and stern. "I've secured you a proper job. An admin position at my friend's logistics firm. Steady work, a real paycheck." It felt like a trap closing around me. When I started to protest, he cut me off. "If you refuse this opportunity, consider our relationship over. No more support, financial or otherwise." I was speechless. Driving home, my phone buzzed. It was an email. A job offer for the exact admin position he described. I had never even sent them my resume. He had done it all behind my back. For 3 days, I debated giving in. The weight of his disapproval was a constant ache. His texts continued, "Time for a reality check," and "Stop chasing childish dreams." I felt completely alone. In a moment of desperation, I called my old college professor, Mr. Abrams. I spilled everything, my voice cracking. He listened patiently. "Charlotte," he said finally, "that prototype you showed me last year had genuine potential. Don't let anyone, not even your father, blind you to that." His belief was a lifeline. Hanging up, I knew I wouldn't quit. But I also knew I had to go underground. The problem was stark: I had passion, but no funding and no real technical expertise to make it scalable. My rebuild started in secret. I spent my evenings at library business workshops and my late nights sketching improved designs at my small kitchen table. It was at one of these workshops that I met Evan. He was a soft-spoken engineer who asked insightful questions. When I hesitantly explained my project, his eyes lit up. Over coffee, I confessed the real struggle, the echo of my father's voice in my head, telling me I was a fool. Evan nodded understandingly. Then he pointed at my drawings. "You don't realize it, but this could solve a major moisture and allergen issue in modern, airtight homes. Big companies are throwing millions at this problem." Months of secret work paid off. I won a small, $5,000 grant from a local entrepreneurship program. I didn't tell a soul, storing the check in a locked drawer. It was my first validation. The high was short-lived. My father called, his voice icy. He'd found a program brochure I'd accidentally left in my car. "Ungrateful," he hissed. "Delusional. I offer you a real future, and you waste your time on this trash." The anger in his voice was terrifying. He ended the call with a final, chilling ultimatum. "I will not speak to you again until you decide to grow up." The line went dead. A week after the blow-up, my mom came to my apartment. She looked tired. "He's afraid, Charlotte," she whispered, handing me a cup of tea. "Decades ago, he invested everything in an invention of his own. It failed. He lost his partner's money and never recovered from the shame." She squeezed my hand. "Your success reminds him of his failure. But you need to be careful. He'll sabotage you if he thinks you're embarrassing the family name." Her warning was a cold splash of reality. The next day, I got a call from the Grant Foundation. They said someone had called to verify my eligibility, questioning if I had a real business plan. I knew exactly who. My improved prototype, version 1.5, was accepted into a small local sustainability expo. I was a nervous wreck, terrified my father or one of his friends would walk by my modest booth. For hours, people showed polite interest. Then, a woman named Isabella spent a long time at my table. She asked technical questions I could finally answer thanks to Evan's help. She handed me a business card. She was a product scout for Homefront Goods, a respected company. My team would be very interested in a meeting, she said. My hands trembled as I took the card. Just as I was preparing for the meeting, my father invited me to a family lunch. Hoping for a truce, I went. The moment I sat down, he beamed at everyone. Charlotte has finally seen reason. She's starting a new admin job at Benton Logistics next month. I was stunned. When I quietly said, "Dad, I didn't accept that job," his smile vanished. He sighed, a loud, performative sound of disappointment. "Charlotte, please. Stop embarrassing yourself in front of everyone." I left the restaurant, my face burning. But this time, the humiliation didn't cripple me. It hardened into something solid and determined. That evening, Isabella emailed. They wanted to see version 2.0 in 1 month. The next 4 weeks were a blur of exhaustion. I worked my day job, then spent every night in my makeshift garage workshop. I was surviving on coffee and 4 hours of sleep. One night, my body gave out. I slipped and knocked a shelf of components over, collapsing into the mess in tears. I called Evan, barely coherent. He came over immediately. As he helped me clean up, I broke down. What if he's right? What if I'm not good enough for this? Evan looked me straight in the eye. Your father is wrong. You are building something real. I've seen it. Then he smiled. I might know someone who can help with small batch manufacturing. I was finally making progress when I got a notice from my landlord. An anonymous complaint had been filed, citing my garage as an unpermitted commercial workshop and a fire hazard. I was given 48 hours to shut it down. I pleaded, explaining it was just a project. The landlord was sympathetic but firm. Rules are rules, he said. Then he added, almost as an afterthought, the man who called was quite insistent. Said he was your father and was worried about the neighborhood. My own father had sabotaged me. Confronting him would only give him more ammunition. Instead, I channeled my fury into action. I spent a day researching and found the Hive, a shared commercial workspace downtown. It was legal, affordable with my grant money, and fully equipped with tools I could only dream of owning. It was a professional solution he couldn't touch. I signed the lease that afternoon. As I was moving my first boxes in, my phone buzzed. It was an email from Isabella at Homefront Goods. The subject line read, "Corporate is very interested. Can we talk tomorrow?" The meeting room was intimidating. I faced 3 executives from Homefront Goods, including a stern-faced VP named Mr. Dalton. I demonstrated my new, sleek version 2.0, explaining the science Evan had helped me solidify. They asked tough questions, but I was prepared. I could see their impressed nods. Then Mr. Dalton leaned forward. "We're impressed, Ms. Webb. We'd like to proceed with a market test. We need 200 units for a trial run in 3 select cities." My heart soared, then immediately plummeted. 200 units? I had never built more than 5 at a time. I managed a week, thank you, my mind racing. That night, I stared at the manufacturing estimates Evan's contact had sent me. The cost was staggering. I didn't have the money. For a moment, I considered calling Homefront and declining. I was in over my head. My mom called late, hearing the stress in my voice. I told her everything. She was quiet for a long time. "I spent my life letting him make decisions out of fear," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Don't be like me. You have to see this through." Her words were the push I needed. The next morning, Evan called. He'd found a small local manufacturer willing to do the run at a deep discount to help a startup. The production started smoothly. I watched the first 50 units come off the line, a feeling of incredible triumph swelling in my chest. Then, the factory manager called. His voice was apologetic. "I'm sorry, Ms. Webb. We have to pull out. A business acquaintance is applying pressure." "It's not personal." I knew it was personal. I did some digging. The business acquaintance was my father's longtime golf buddy, a man named Arthur. The sabotage was relentless. I felt utterly broken. When my mom visited, she found me sitting in the dark. Without a word, she handed me a plain envelope. Inside was a check for $15,000, her secret savings. With my mom's savings and a new fire in my belly, I found a manufacturer 2 towns over, one with no ties to my father's circle. They were skeptical but agreed to a rush order after I showed them the purchase order from Homefront. For the first time, I felt the power of a team: my mom, Evan, Mr. Abrams. I wasn't alone. We worked day and night to meet the deadline. Just as we finished the final unit, Isabella called. The timeline had moved up. Corporate wanted the test units delivered by Friday, 2 days earlier than planned. The test market results came back. They were better than anyone had hoped. Sales exceeded projections, and customer feedback was glowing. Homefront wanted to license my product, which they now called the Aura Pure. They offered a modest upfront payment and a small royalty. It was life-changing money to me, but I hesitated. It felt like I was giving my child away. When I discussed it with Evan, he was firm. "This is where most inventors get taken advantage of. You negotiated the science, now negotiate the business. Don't settle." I asked for a second meeting with Mr. Dalton. I walked in, my heart pounding, but my voice was steady. I laid out my counteroffer: a larger upfront fee to cover my development costs and a higher royalty percentage. I cited the market data. The room was silent. Mr. Dalton stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then, a slow smile spread across his face. "You've got backbone. I like it. Okay. You've got a deal." I signed the licensing agreement, my signature a declaration of independence. A few weeks later, I heard rumors through my aunt. My father's distribution business was struggling. A major client had left, and cash flow was tight. For the first time in months, he called me. "Just checking in, Charlotte," he said, his tone unusually gentle. He asked vague questions about what I was up to. He was fishing for information. Then, he invited me to a big family dinner at his club. "It'll be good for everyone to see you," he said. I accepted, knowing it was a stage where he planned to show he still controlled the narrative. The dinner was at the fanciest restaurant in town. Richard held court, laughing loudly. He began one of his favorite monologues, belittling naive people who play at being inventors and waste everyone's time. His eyes flicked toward me. I simply took a sip of water, my face neutral. Midway through the meal, he announced loudly that he was considering investing in stable, real businesses, unlike some people. Then he turned to me, his gaze sharp and pointed. "So, Charlotte," he said, the whole table watching. "Have you come to your senses yet about that little project of yours?" The next morning, my phone exploded. Dozens of texts, missed calls, and social media notifications. A local news segment had aired about a hidden gem in our city, my Aura Pure. The clip showed the product and mentioned my name, calling it a corporate-backed breakthrough in home wellness. My father's relatives were calling him, asking why he never mentioned my success. My phone rang. It was my mom, her voice a whisper. "He just saw the news. He's not happy." Minutes later, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. It was Richard, his face like a thundercloud. He stormed in before I could say hello. "What is this, Charlotte? Blindsiding me? Trying to make me look like a fool?" he demanded, his voice shaking with a mix of anger and panic. "I'm sure the news exaggerated everything." I didn't argue. I walked to my desk, picked up the official press release from Homefront, and handed it to him. I watched as his eyes scanned the paper, seeing the corporate logo, the official statements, the projected sales figures. The color drained from his face. He looked old. Finally, he cleared his throat. "This is a lot to handle. Do you need help managing all this?" The following week, a national home and garden show reached out for an interview. My success was snowballing. At the same time, my mom confirmed that 2 more of my father's key clients had left, citing his unstable temperament. The consequences of his behavior were finally hitting his bottom line. He called again, his tone completely different, strained, almost respectful. "Charlotte," he began, "I think we should meet. I have some ideas. Perhaps we could partner on this." The request was so transparent it was almost pathetic. The tables had completely turned. We met at a quiet cafe. He arrived in a full suit, as if for a corporate merger. He slid a typed proposal across the table, outlining how he could be my strategic advisor and handle my business affairs. I listened politely until he finished. Then I folded my hands. "Thank you, but I already have a team I trust implicitly. An engineer, a mentor, and a business manager Homefront connected me with. I won't be needing your involvement." His composure cracked. "So that's it? You're choosing them over your own father?" I looked at him, not with anger, but with pity. "No," I said softly. "I'm choosing myself." My national interview aired. Sales of the Aura Pure exploded. Homefront exercised its option for a nationwide rollout, and the royalty checks became substantial. The local paper ran a follow-up story, calling it a breakthrough in everyday sustainability. Meanwhile, the fallout for Richard was severe. His business never recovered from the loss of clients, a direct result of his own pride and toxic behavior. He became a quiet, diminished figure. The final twist came from my mom. She finally stood up for herself, telling him she was staying with her sister for a while. She needed space to find the person she was before she married him. I used my first major royalty check to buy a small, bright house with a garden. No more apartments. I hosted a gathering there, surrounded by the people who truly mattered, Evan, my mom, Mr. Abrams. We laughed and celebrated a victory that was ours. A week later, a formal letter arrived from the patent office. My invention was officially patented in my name, Charlotte Webb. As I held the certificate, I thought of the long, painful journey. I had done it all without ever stooping to his level, without breaking a single rule. The news was right, it was a breakthrough. I looked around my new home, a place I built myself, and whispered the truest words I knew, "I did this." And I never needed his permission. The door closed softly behind me as I stepped into my new life.